Hello everybody and welcome back to the Cheryl Technology Channel. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining me. And in this one, we are going to be doing virtualization. So we're going to look at, yesterday, or whatever day it was I recorded, yesterday I believe it was, we were looking at Docker. And now today we're going to look at virtualization so you can compare and contrast the differences between the two. If you're new to the channel, thank you for watching. Let's just get right into this because this is going to be a good one and I love this stuff very much. It is very cool and very awesome. I love each and every one of you. Let's just get going. Yesterday we described in the last video part 1 of what is Docker. This is part 2, what is virtualization. We're going to look at, so Docker, I'm going to just give a quick recap so you know what the differences are. Docker makes containers. They are pre-built, ready to go. Virtualization, on the other hand, requires an ISO file or a pre-built image, which you can do in vSphere. Now, vSphere or ESXi, they do an OVA image. So let's see. Let's just look this up. OVA image. So this is specific to VMware, and VMware kind of sucks now because they have changed everything. They no longer offer the ESXi is no longer free. You would not believe I learned virtualization because of ESXi. And so what is virtualization, you may be asking? So let's go back to, this is from IBM's website. And so basically virtualization is taking a server or a cluster of servers. We're just going to say it's a server, and you're dividing that hardware up into little pieces that each virtual machine can use. Whereas Docker, it uses the operating system that it divides up using daemons, or daemons, or however you say it. Daemons, I think, is how they say it. And so virtualization is the process of using allows for greater flexibility. Not only flexibility, it allows for greater use of the hardware. Think of this in the old days when servers were used, you needed a server for each operating system. So virtualization helped because it takes one computer and you can divide it up into multiple pieces. So you see, so think about this. You have a data center or a rack, right? And in this rack, I have 3 racks at the place where I work, and I'm in charge of them. So I know what's in there. We have a server that is it's a blade server. So I don't know if you've ever seen a blade server, but a blade server has a chassis that goes into the rack, and it's pretty big, pretty good size. Heavy as crap once you get all the blades in it. And so that chassis goes into the rack, slides right in. It's pretty easy, actually. And so because it slides into the rack, you have blades that go in. Now these blades are what contain the actual virtual machine or the actual physical computing power. The blades, or the chassis itself, holds the networking piece and all of that kind of stuff. So in this instance, that's what it is. Now, that's a blade server. Blade servers, you could run virtual machines. You could run an ESXi host on every one of those blades. Whereas a server, so let's say it's a Dell, let's just say a Dell, what was it, R710, I believe is the one I had that I got rid of. May you rest in peace. So one of these, this one right here, come on, open the document. Okay, this right here. So each one of these, it has the hardware itself. Mine had, I think it was a dual core. It had two processor slots or CPU slots. And within that, you could divide, so think about this, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna blow your mind right now. This is gonna be so epic. So when you are thinking about processors, right? You have processors that have physical cores, and then what they do is they hyperthread that and so let's say there's 4 physical cores, it makes 8 logical cores. So now if you have 2 CPUs that have 4 cores each, you have 16 cores, technically. They're logical cores, but you can have that many cores. So it kind of takes and divides everything up. So then the only thing that I've seen different between Docker, well, there's bunches of things, but one of the things is Docker really requires a little to no resource. I mean, it's very low. Whereas virtualization requires, it's memory intensive. So it requires a lot of RAM. My server, which is still out in my shed because I haven't used it lately, that would be a good one to do Docker on, actually. But it takes too much power to run it. And so I'm wanting to narrow everything down and make it smaller. Now, so you take those CPU cores, you can divide the logical cores up and give, say, a virtual machine 4 logical cores. You still have 12 more. So you have 12 more cores. Then if you divide your RAM up, so let's say that you use, say, 4 gigs of RAM. Well, I have 64 gig in that one, so I have a crap ton of RAM left, 60 gig left. So think about that, how useful that would be. Docker, on the other hand, requires a lot less than that. You're actually Docker, you can move them. Now, I will disclaim this right now. You can take these OVA files, the OVF, you can move them, but now, disclaimer, in this it requires something called vMotion. You can move a live virtual machine while it's running over to another server. It's freaking awesome, but you will pay out the butt for it. You will pay a crap ton of money to be able to do that, because I believe it requires vSphere to do that. Now that you know kind of what virtualization is and what the benefits are, that is the difference. That's the difference. I mean, virtual machines are awesome, but it simulates physical hardware, right? It simulates physical hardware. So it's using the physical hardware and making it logical. Now, virtual networking is interesting as crap. It's very cool. So you're using a physical NIC, right? You use a physical NIC, and you can make a switch, like a virtual switch, and make it just like a physical switch. It's freaking crazy. And I've done it bunches of times. I have. Now, here you go. So here's your 2 types of hypervisors. The first one, it's a software layer that coordinates the VMs, right? So that would be something like VMware, ESXi, Proxmox, stuff like that. That's a hypervisor. Type 1 of bare metal interacts with the underlying physical resources, replacing the traditional operating system altogether. They most commonly appear in virtual server scenarios. So that's one type. Type 2, it runs as an application on an existing OS. So that would be, I believe that those would be, so this would be a little bit different, but those are the 2 types. Now, virtualization is very cool because it's very efficient. Well, now that I know about Docker, it's not very efficient at all. It has its uses. So in the environments I've worked in, we have a hypervisor, right? Now, I think we have 6 ESXi, I believe it's 5 or 6, that run all of our virtual machines. Now, you may be asking yourself, the only drawback is the price, the cost. This kind of crap is expensive. This ESXi and all this crap, it's ridiculously expensive now. I mean, it is so expensive to run. So your choice as to what you want to run. Now, that's what virtualization is. And then you can virtualize everything, the GPU, the CPU, the cloud, Linux, desktop, network. I mean, it's crazy what you can do with this stuff. So virtual desktop, local desktop, network, storage virtualization. So vSANs, that's something that's in here. So if we do vSAN, there you go, vSAN, bruh. Virtual storage area network, right here, vSAN, storage virtualization. Now, let's try a hands-on lab, y'all. What do y'all think about that? Let's see. So it wants me to do it. So we may do this at some point, actually. That would be kind of cool, I think. Test my browser. Oh, I know my browser. Run the test. Look at that. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, oh yeah. My stuff's bad to the bone, dude. So if you think about it, I mean, if you really think about this, you could do anything. Like, virtualization is very cool because you can virtualize everything. Whereas Docker requires a little bit different approach in terms of the way things are done. But I'm trying to get through this so I can actually get to the place to where I can build my virtual machine and then I can run Docker on it. So I really want to get to that part. Ooh, I can't wait. Y'all, I got goosebumps right then. So, all right, here, virtualization versus containerization. See, the server virtualization, it reproduces the entire computer, then runs an entire OS. Containers take an alternative approach. They share an underlying OS kernel, only running the application and the things it depends on. That's why it's so much faster. So that's why it's so much faster. And so you can see that those are the differences, basically. So the virtualization uses the hardware. The containers use the kernel. That's the difference. So that's what I'm thinking. So VMware is really good. VMware is a very good virtualization software. But now that it's so expensive, I would go with Proxmox now. Proxmox, I think, is very good. So those are my 2 cents on all of that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. And if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray that you would reach out to me at CherylTechnology@gmail.com or shoot it down in the comments. throw it down there, and I will be glad to debate, talk, or pray with you, or just listen if that's what you need. That's what I'm here to do. And until next time, everybody, I love each and every one of you. Peace.